So remember I said step one was setting goals because that's exactly how we keep motivation. So a lot of students, they'll just dive into the books and they'll be fully motivated to study. But there's just to study. There's no clear goal. There's nothing else to it. That motivation will die. It won't last. And it'll just come in peaks and troughs and it doesn't get them anywhere. So it's important to make specific goals that are actually meaningful to each individual child, so that they not only can motivate them throughout, but so that they have something to measure their success against, right? What are they actually working towards? That's that specific goal for them. They know when they've got there, right? Doing your best is never finished, but being prepared for an exam in GCSE maths and having read through the curriculum content and practiced exam questions on each of the chapters and scored at least a grade 6 in 3 practice papers. That's something that you can have done in the next few months. That's achievable, right? So that is a much more realistic goal. I just made that up as I went, right? Whatever. It's going to be a different goal for you. I literally just made that up on the spot. So take nothing from that. They are essential though. You do have to have goals, okay? And we'll have a separate content for your child to go through how they set their goals. But it's really helpful for them to have some support in doing that and making sure that they're realistic, because I think children and adults alike can be their worst enemies and either just go nuts with the goals and push themselves way out of their comfort zone or completely miss the mark. So it's helpful to have some support from somebody else. We'll go through that in the live session as well and make sure that they feel comfortable with it. But it's nice to have a bit of extra help. So bearing in mind that ultimately your child probably isn't that different from you, but they haven't finished developing physically and mentally, executive function doesn't finish growing until maybe 27 years of age, by which point students have finished school and any higher education and had a job, quite possibly married with children, right? They've suddenly managed to develop decision-making skills and they've already made many of the major decisions of their life. Um, so bearing in mind that they're still growing and developing, they're in the early days of their independence. And so much like their parents and myself, it can be difficult to make them do something that they don't want to do. So instead, the challenge isn't to force them to do something that they don't want to do, but to make them want to do something that's actually helpful for them, which is not through any Darren Brown mind tricks and manipulation. It's like I kind of go back to my own experience of the thing that I most don't want to do these days that's good for me is to go running. I absolutely hate going for a run. I hate the experience of running. I hate the clothes. I hate being outside. I hate all of it. So if you feel the same way about running as I do, then you can relate to that. If you're a fan of running, please teach me how, but also maybe use a different metaphor, something that you hate, right? Folding fitted sheets, cooking a roast dinner, changing the wheel in your car. What is it that you hate doing? I can make it months ago making stuff up. Relate it to that, right? Something that you hate, but you know that is good for you mentally and physically. How can you make yourself do it, right? So you don't want to do the thing, but you want the benefit that comes from it. So if I know that I need to go for a run because I feel really lethargic or my clothes are starting to get a bit tight, or I can't walk up the stairs without huffing and puffing, then I can't just say to myself, oh, I need to go for a run. It means nothing. It depresses me and I know I'm not going to do it. So instead, I focus on the things that are important to me. I want to wear my favorite jeans. I want to be able to feel healthier. I want to be able to run up those stairs and feel okay when I get to the top. I know that exercise reduces anxiety and helps me to feel better and more positive mentally. Those things are important to me. I like those things. So if I think about those enough, then that can motivate me to do the running or whatever other exercise it is that day. What would that be for your child in relation to their exams? So what does success mean for them? They don't want to sit exams, so being prepared for the exams, that's not motivating for them. They don't really care about their grades. I'm sorry. Ultimately, much as they feel they care about their grades, they don't care about having those grades. They care about what comes with it. They care about feeling confident about themselves. They care about actually having achieved something, and they care about what having those certificates is going to enable them to go on to do. And that's going to be different for every single child, even if all of them tells you, I want to do good in my exams. That's not their goal. It's the other things that those achievements allow them. And that'll be different for everybody, right? So you might know your child well enough now to know to say what those are, but it's still worth having a conversation with them because it will make it clearer to both of you and it will highlight that to them in their mind. So have a conversation around them. What does success mean for them specifically? What will it let them do? How will it make them feel about themselves if they manage to pass all of their GCSEs, if they got the grades that allow them to take A levels, if they got onto an apprenticeship? What would that mean for them? Right. So they don't actually want to do any of the things that get them there. Probably I like the process of learning, but a lot of the actual specific steps are quite dull, right? Memorizing things, highlighting and underlining passages, learning definitions, making mind maps. It's not particularly exciting, but it's a means to an end. So focus on what comes next when you're setting those goals. Okay. Make sure that it's motivating and not daunting. It can't be massive. It can't be like pie in the sky goals. It has to be something that they are motivated by. Okay. And it has to come from them because sometimes it can come too much from an external source and it might not be always clear how much your opinions can influence them. They still, believe it or not, listen to what you say. So find out what the motivator is for your child, and ask them why it's important for them to do well in school, what it means to them. I don't want to hear anything about making somebody else happy. Sorry, they can't say that it would make you happy. You can't be impressing their school friends. It can't be making their teacher happy. It has to be something that is important to them, right? What would it mean for their future happiness if they did well in their exams? Do they have a particular requirement for a future course that they want to do? Do they want to do a particular subject for A levels? Is there a course they've already got in mind at university? Have they got their eye on a particular apprenticeship and there's grade requirements for that? Okay, that's their big goal. That's what's going to keep them motivated. We then need to build in some good habits. So there's some quick wins that can be introduced and make that challenge of the goal that they've just set, that they're hopefully quite passionate, that they have some emotions connected with, right? Keeping up with classwork, right? Each week, make sure that they're up to date, that they don't have big gaps in their exercise books. They've made good notes in their lessons. And they've finished all of their homework. That can make a massive difference. I know sometimes it seems a bit tedious, but it can make a massive difference. There's nothing worse than when you get to the point of revision, right? When you've studied all of the content at school and now it's time to revise and prepare for exams. And then you look back in your notebook and you realise that a crucial chapter now means nothing, or it was just a title and you never filled in the content. It's missing at that point. You don't want to find out then. Let's keep it all under control and find problems early. Still do something about it. So we've got a clear motivation now, and we break that big motivation down into specific study goals. Okay, so if their goal is make one up that someone shared, they want to do veterinary science at university. So what are the specific study goals that they have for that? They'd need to pass maths and English and probably do fairly well with higher tier maths and sciences. So they probably want to do triple science GCSEs and aim to do those for A level. Okay. What do they do? How close are they to the grades that they need at the moment? What would they need to do to boost them if they're not there already? What grades do they get in the most recent mock exams? So they need to go up 1 or 2 grades before they'd sit their final exam. Are there any specific subjects where they're already at or above target and perhaps they can reduce the amount of time that they give those in their calendar? Make sure that you go through that level of detail and set specific goals for each of the subjects so that they can maybe take the pressure off on some things and ramp up the pressure on others. Make sure that they're focused on things that are going to make the biggest difference to their specific goal. And bearing in mind, there is more to life than exams, and teenagers are going through a massive period of change. They're developing social skills, and like I said, they haven't fully developed executive function. They're still physically developing. There's a lot going on for them. Does your child have anything else going on this year that they need to spend their time on? Have they got a member of a sports club? Do they have a part-time job? Are they in a dance group? Or is there something that they need to give their time to this year that's going to make it less likely for them to achieve a study goal? Don't move the goalposts too far away because that kills their motivation. So if there's too much pressure on them, then they're not going to be motivated to do any of it. So if they have goals that aren't exam focused, make sure that it can be all balanced together. Do they have to maybe scale back some stuff just for the time being, and then they can scale it back up again in the summer? Or are there any adjustments that need to be made to the goals, perhaps? What can we do to make it more manageable for them? If they don't have any goals that aren't exam focused, not to distract them from it, but it might be a good time to introduce something because they don't want to spend all of their time focused on exams. And it doesn't mean like go learn a new language or buy a musical instrument or get a horse or anything massive. Just something that can encourage them to enjoy some time away from the books each week. So perhaps they could join a sports club or a social club or buy a new game or anything that they're going to be interested in doing each week to take them away from their books for a while, especially something that takes them outside. And you can support them in finding something that they enjoy and something that they're good at that reminds them of who they are outside of their grades and what they're capable of. If there's something that they're good at, encourage them to develop that skill. It doesn't matter if it's got anything to do with their exams. It's important for their confidence and it will still help them with their exam goals. So bearing in mind all of these things, their personal goals, their academic goals, their long-term vision for their future, how achievable are all of the goals for them in this year? Some of them can be a stretch. Ideally, no more than 3 for them to work on at the moment that would be a stretch for them. So a stretch would be bumping up a grade or 2 before their exam. If that's where they are with all of their subjects, then you'd need to scale some of them back again just to be realistic, right? And remember that doesn't necessarily make a big dent in their options for the future. It actually helps them to stay focused on the ones that are most important right now if they're not all going to be a stretch, right? So scaling things back can actually increase their chances of success. What's going to need the biggest slice of their time to achieve? So if they need a top grade in a specific subject and that's the one that's the most related to their ongoing goal, then that's going to need more of their time each week. If they're on track for their target grade, is there a push that can get them a bit closer to their big goal? Can they reduce some of the time that they spend on one that's less important? So make sure that the goals that they have are realistic, that they're achievable, and that they're really meaningful to them individually. I hope that helps. Do come and share what the goals are that you've worked out. I'd love to help you with them.